All right, so hi everybody, welcome to this session. This is Abhyuday Agarwal, co-founder and CEO of Lawsikho. This session is on, this is a free training on how to succeed at senior law firm or general counsel positions, or how to add high margin services as an independent practitioner, or how to build your CV for top corporate law firm jobs. I have with me Shweta Rath, who is senior associate at Lawsikho. She's a course anchor for our competition law course, and she's got a couple of years of practicing experience at as a competition lawyer at Trilegal and at Gaggar and Associates. And we are also joined by Abir Roy, uh, who is a practice head and partner at Sarvada Legal. He's also and a firm he founded around 2018. So he started he started the firm quite recently and has made a name for the competition practice of the firm. Okay, so I'm going to start quickly. I'm going to dive into the subject. Just hang on. I'm going to screen share. Sorry. Yeah. So my presentation is visible to everybody?
Yes.
Okay. So today this training is about how to succeed at senior law firm or general counsel positions. Okay, or how to add a high margin service as an independent practitioner. We're going to discuss a few services in one area in the theme of competition law. So without 3 to 5 years of prior competition law firm experience, how can you do this? If you're a law student, how to build your CV for top corporate law firm jobs through competition expertise. Okay, we're going to look at one narrow lens, that how can competition expertise help you for all these purposes. Okay, so if you're an independent lawyer or a law firm owner, one of the most important goals and challenges for an independent lawyer is to diversify one's services, build a new and profitable practice area. Competition law is niche and profitable. Okay, and we'll discuss what are the things you can do in this practice area. What are the tasks you can perform? For in-house counsels, now one of the challenges that in-house counsels face is that if you're working, let's say, in a consumer-facing company, you may be focused a lot on the consumer side of things, or you may be focused on the banking and finance side of things. Now, if you want to accelerate your growth to general counsel, especially in a big company, okay, or in a conglomerate to the group general counsel. So if you want to move from general counsel position in one subsidiary to the group level general counsel position, then competition law is a very, very important area of expertise. If you want to shift laterally from the company you're working in to another organization, maybe in a different sector, but which is a big and prestigious organization, competition law is likely to be one of the areas where you need to possess expertise in. Okay? In fact, you have MNC policies which states that, if you're a group general counsel, antitrust expertise is a must. If you're a law student, and you want to think of which are the areas in which I can get some practical expertise quickly, okay, and increase my chances of getting into a law firm as an intern if you're in first, second, third year, fourth year, or get a PPO if you're in fourth year, fifth year, or just graduating, then uh, then competition law is an extremely good niche to kind of specialize in. Okay, and tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 firms. So earlier it was this, that there would only be tier 1 firms which would be doing competition law practice, or there would be a few boutiques. Now a lot of new firms are coming up and doing well and paying their associates well, ranging between 60,000 to 1,20,000 rupees a month of salary, depending on which firm you are in. Okay, and there are a lot of examples. Okay, and we will tell you about those in due course. Now, just imagine for a moment, okay, that you have a practice in a new and highly profitable niche in which only lawyers who have worked at big law firms, say in the competition practice itself for 3 or more years, can venture into. But the problem they would face is that they would be operating in a highly specialized area. So they would be restricted to working on competition law matters only. And that means that it's a challenge for them to move from law firm to independent practice. You, as an independent practitioner, on the other hand, have expertise in other areas already and you have clients, you are offering them other services, but you, without going through the law firm experience of 3+ years, you acquire some skills, okay, to actually offer competition related services to clients. Okay, and where other lawyers are claiming that, clients are driving my prices down, they are asking for more value for money, and they're making me do everything under the sun, you've got a handful of services that you can offer at higher margins. Okay, like, we'll tell you later in more detail, but there a single competition act filing before the CCI, an information, it's called an information, you can charge 20,000 to a lakh for it, okay, depending on the client or the nature of the matter. So it's a profitable, there are some profitable services that are available there, and because they are unique and niche, there's not so much downward pressure on the charges that you do, that you charge clients. Then if you're an in-house counsel, imagine the management wanting your opinion on some of the most high risk or high value business strategy decisions. Okay, they would want to discuss any marketing strategy, they want to enter a new country, a new market, a new product wants to be it has to be launched, and they want to discuss marketing distribution strategy. They want you in the loop. Okay, imagine having that kind of importance. Imagine the CFO and the promoters always reaching out to you because they don't want to fall foul of competition concerns. Competition is big, okay? So this doesn't happen for every law, but for competition, it happens because of the kind of penalties, and you can't fix it, right? Like if there's a tax law violation later on, what will you do? You will pay interest. You may have to pay penalty, but usually with interest and outstanding tax, it's sorted, right? But here in a competition matter, if you violate the law, there could be 10% of your full book profits. That could be also 10% of your turnover could be the range of the penalty. Okay, now you would have more ammunition to switch laterally because this is one unique skill which others don't have, and especially big companies would want. And if there's a fast growing company rapidly scaling up with venture capital, then it's going to require competition expertise. If you're a law student, of course, imagine just having a choice, multiple internships, multiple job offers at your plate, having a huge folder, a docket of work to back up all the claims in your CV. Imagine your CV being targeted highly to the jobs that you want. Okay. Imagine getting replies to your email applications much more than what your batchmates will complain that, I don't get a reply, nobody replies to me, I've applied to so many firms, and you are actually getting replies because you choose which firms to apply to and you have a very good response rate. Imagine being confident at interviews. Imagine, you compare somebody else's CV with yours and you see that, okay, my CV is like head and shoulders different from everybody else's, right? Like that's what, imagine what your life will look like then. Imagine your professional success, the recognition you would have. Okay, now in the next hour, you will have a very clear, granular level, specifics on this pathway to be one of the most highly paid lawyers in the country. Okay, to be amongst those percentage of lawyers who get paid really well for their services. And this, how to do this will not be a mystery anymore. You will have a 3-month action plan. Now just tell me something, okay, whether this sounds relatable for any of you, and use the chat to say yes, no, whatever, okay, give qualifiers if it doesn't apply to you. But if you're an independent practitioner, so guys, can you all tell us on chat as to whether you all are independent practitioners, young law students, or in-house counsels? Okay, just tell us a little about yourselves, okay, and tell me whether this is relatable. Are increasing client expectations stressing you out? Are you worried about losing clients to bigger firms if you charge higher prices? This is this is a very big concern for independent practitioners. Are you looking to offer new and high margin services to your clients? Like, what are the emerging areas? Are you trying to find those out? And do you want to tap into opportunities which, will become very, very important 2 years, 3 years down the line? So do you want to make those long-term investments of going into high value and niche practice areas? Okay. So are you concerned, that post-COVID lockdown, there has been so much cost-cutting, downsizing measures by companies and law firms? It's been a bit concerning for lawyers, especially because we are often perceived as cost centers. What's a cost center? Like, it's just we don't add to revenue, okay? So because of the nature of our service, and that becomes a big concern, that if, the management says your salary is reduced by 20%, 30%, there's not much you can say about it, because it's difficult to justify a claim that my being here increases your revenue, unless of course you have something very, very unique that you can offer them. So are you looking for ways to be indispensable as an in-house counsel? If you're a law student, is the cancellation of job offers by big law firms, deferral of internships during the lockdown, is this kind of bothering you somewhere? Are you anxious about how this recession is going to be impacting your future career prospects? Okay, and if you are, then the real challenge has always been and continues to be the same. And COVID and the lockdown and the recession, nothing has changed all the basic facts. The basic facts is this: we are actually believing in 5 myths. We need to remove them, move to reality that can cause the shift. It's not recession, it's not downsizing, it's not cancellation of jobs that's causing us the trouble here. Okay, so we are going to discuss now in this remaining 45 minutes to 1 hour how you can use competition law skills to offer new high margin services to current clients, existing clients, and fast growing businesses. If you're a law student, you can still look at helping people out with competition concerns. Look at moving to, if you're an in-house counsel, if you want to find out how to accelerate your growth to senior most legal positions in a company, move laterally. And the bigger the company, the greater your importance. Lateral moving means if you want to change your employer from one to another, to display. And if you're a law student, you want to display specialized knowledge for law firm jobs and internships, and in the competition practice area. Because why we're talking about it is it's niche. You'll see how you can make a difference there. And the moment you say I'm applying for this area, the amount of competition suddenly reduces vastly. Okay. Now this usually can take 1 to 3 years without guidance. People go for foreign LLMs. People do an internship, a moot, but that barely gets you like even an internship. That's also difficult because given the amount of competition and the degree to which the skill is required to actually succeed, even in an internship. Okay, so most people would have to like separately do a competition LLM or figure out what else to do. Okay, and some people got into this area sometimes by accident, so it took 1 to 3 years without guidance. Now you can set out on this path. We've sort of structured and captured all the essential knowledge and put it together, and you can set out on this path in as little as 3 months. And I'll show you some of examples of the people who've been able to sort of achieve that. And 3 months is what it takes, even if you're not from an NLU, even if you don't have an LLM, even if you're a first generation lawyer. Okay, so that's something you need to know about it. So a little about us before we go further. I am co-founder and COO at Lawsikho, and I really love uh, figuring out how a new legal skill can be taught and how lawyers can provide new kinds of services to clients, and therefore have over the past 8 years been instrumental in the design and conceptualization of more than 70 legal courses. Okay, and Shweta, I just gave her introduction. So she's been anchoring our competition law course, and she's taught about 2 or 3 batches right now. And she's been an ex-associate at Trilegal and Gaggar and Associates. And Abir, partner at Sarvada Legal, he will be giving his inputs from time to time here. He heads the competition practice, and he's an ex-Amarchand lawyer of the Undivided Amarchand, ex-Lakshmi Kumaran and Sridharan, and 2007 NLU Jodhpur graduate. So he's like very senior into the profession. And what's important to note, for people who think that I can build a law firm only if I started before 2010, or I can't compete with the big law firms, you should know that Abir has built up the competition practice of Sarvada Legal and in the last 2 to 3 years. And despite whatever you might think that how much ever competition persists. Okay. Now, Abir, you would like to say anything about yourself? Are you here? About your interest in competition or anything to add to this? 1 second, I'll unmute. Yeah, you're unmuted. Let us know, okay, Abir, if you want to say something. Okay, I'll proceed. So just want to explain why this space, why nobody thought earlier, or very few people thought about competition law. And I don't think you've sort of known earlier people saying that, hey, competition law is this big practice area for independent practitioners. People used to stay away, right? Like you avoid tax like the plague unless you love numbers. You avoid competition like the plague unless you love numbers. That kind of a thing has been there for our mind, right? So, or similar approaches there for electricity and other areas. But I'll just explain why this has been the case. So there were earlier only a handful of competition law positions in the market. Okay, the regulation was new, and slowly things were happening. Now you had to work in a competition law firm for years to get expertise. India didn't have its own jurisprudence, so some people who did LLM also started out early, but we have people here who are without LLMs also have been doing extremely well. We'll give you examples also. Independent practitioners had no option but to focus on traditional areas. Why? Because to upskill in these technical areas was a lot harder, given that that kind of expertise wasn't provided. So unless you got to work on client matters and learn by experience, that means learn by making mistakes. You can't be paid for it, and ideally you have to like cover yourself, because if there's a consequence of making mistakes, it should be on your boss. So unless you got into that practice area through that approach, it would have been difficult to get in. And in-house counsel jobs, that's the other focus area, right, we are talking about today. In-house counsel jobs were not considered to be so demanding and sought after. They were not so prestigious. People thought that, primarily the work is involving coordination, but now it's not like that. Okay, so the number of competition law firms in the Indian market has increased. Why? The market has grown complex. The regulator has expanded its activity. They are regulating the sector more closely. Okay, and a lot of original Indian jurisprudence has emerged. We're not borrowing from European Union or American jurisprudence as much as we used to earlier, and we are relying on our own domestic jurisprudence. So now what happens is that smaller firms, boutique firms, and independent practitioners often get work because the big firms are conflicted. Okay, what happens is that if you are acting for a big player in a particular industry, you can't take a different matter, even a different matter, forget working on the same matter, a different matter you may not be able to take for the informant side, because it creates a sort of a perception issue. Okay, and there's a conflict there, and you will want somebody, somebody else will have to do it. Now that's opened up the market for smaller law firms and independent practitioners. Imagine, that's such a good way to build a new practice, right? And that doesn't happen elsewhere. In other areas, you will see what's the conflict check. A conflict check means that nobody in my organization needs to be working for the other side, right? That's the only thing that you're doing in a conflict. Or you're checking, even sometimes in a law firm, what happens is you can create a Chinese wall and operate. But in competition, it's like you are not even, um, you're not even, if you're not working on the same matter, even then, if you've represented a position of, let's say, a big e-commerce company, you will not operate for a smaller player. Okay, you will not do that.
Most of the tier one are conflicted that way because they've already taken a position on some matter. Maybe it might be some other matter, and here maybe the client is different, but because they've taken the position, they can't represent these clients anymore.
Because they would have taken a position on the market in the earlier matter in a certain way. Now you can't act for another client in a related industry altogether because you've taken that position. Okay, so that way the conflict is a different kind here. Okay, that really, and this doesn't exist for other areas of law, not that we know of. Okay, so this is an interesting opportunity which has led to the growth of newer law firms and independent practitioners also. Like, you don't need to necessarily have a law firm to get into this. Okay, Abhi has mentioned in a couple of comments. We will get to that. Okay. Now, in-house counsel jobs are very prestigious. Now, in-house counsel jobs are considered to be important stakeholders and business leaders. Some of the senior most partners are going from law firms sometimes to make a career shift, and they are in-house. They are general counsels in big companies which are complex and there are like a lot of high stakes matters they are working on. Okay, why? Because they see that as a challenge to be associated with the business, and the business gives them that kind of opportunity and respect. Okay, so in-house counsel jobs are now suddenly perceived in a different way. Smaller clients now, who would go to an independent practitioner or a small law firm, they stand to economically benefit a lot from a favorable competition verdict. You know why? Very simple. Okay, if there's a market practice, you know that it's going to be harmful to your company. Let's say one of the big players in the market for furniture is selling furniture below cost. Okay, and you're a new entrant in the furniture market. You cannot afford to do that because you will make a loss on every sale, right? But a big player with a lot of investment, a lot of money, can afford to take that hit till you're wiped out and consolidate in the market. Now you act for this smaller player, file an information, get this practice stopped, impose consequences on the bigger player. What's going to happen? Your client has a bigger runway, right? Because this practice stops, which means he really has a window of opportunity to play in the market. So it's a very important, very high value service. Okay.
Yeah.
Unlike, yeah,
That's how the jurisprudence is now proceeding. I think Abir sir is like the flag bearer of that kind of litigations, where he is right now going against all the e-commerce aggregator companies.
right. And I'll just read his comment also. He said that, antitrust for in MNCs, the headquarters take care of competition law issues. So if you want to move there, you got to know antitrust. In foreign firms, antitrust practices are as big as their capital markets practice. And
In fact, in companies like Facebook now,
yeah,
even in Gurgaon, they are creating competition cells. They're
got it.
creating policy teams which are specifically focusing on their competition practices and their business practices, which might fall foul of the act.
So if you're doing in-house legal work,
Yeah.
or you want to move to a policy work
So
in a
even
private
in-house
sector
legal
company,
counsels are involved in that part of the job.
awesome. Yeah,
They will be involved. So competition is no longer something that they can steer clear of,
yeah.
especially if they're joining the new age companies, the internet companies that are there.
And if you want to work with head office or with the global legal team, competition is
Then
one
it's
matter that'll get you
that's
there.
yeah.
Right. Now, one thing to look at, okay, another thing this we miss out on, technology is enabling, technology and venture capital together are enabling companies to grow fast. You need capital to expand, and technology makes expansion faster. Like even during COVID, we've seen investment deals happen throughout this duration. It's the only difference is what kind of companies have expanded. Okay, and obviously technology-driven companies which have no connection with physical delivery have grown the fastest. So competition concerns are important there as well. Okay. Apart from that, existing behemoths have always been there, and CCI has initiated actions against them, like Amazon, Flipkart, Make My Trip, Zomato, Ola, Uber. And these are not companies which have been in the market for very, very long, right? Like 10 years kind of runway has been there. Flipkart, of course, now is about 14 years old, but uh, all of the startups rose to prominence quite fast, which means that you can work in fast growing businesses and get in through competition law expertise. Another thing to note is that high courts and tribunals and Supreme Court have started online hearings. So CCI has also already started accepting online merger notification applications. So we may see an online hearing system for the enforcement side, Section 3 and Section 4 petitions also for anti-competitive agreements or abuse of dominant position. But right now, for merger control, they are accepting notifications online. So the trend looks like, online filing may become very common for all kinds of competition work, which opens up the opportunity for even outside lawyers outside Delhi. You don't have to travel, your costs don't increase because you have to fly down to Delhi if you're outside Delhi. All that won't happen because all client work can happen online. So the other thing to keep in mind is, apart from leveling the playing field, compensation claims from smaller parties may increase too, because they may claim the loss that has been occurred to them because of an anti-competitive practice. This is a new trend. Shweta or Abir, if you can speak about it for a minute or two, that'll be great.
Yeah, you know about compensation practices, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, compensation claims earlier were not being used as much, but now, and I think Abir sir himself, in the matter that he was involved in with MCX, they had filed a compensation claim of around 800 crores or something, and now compensation claims are becoming even more popular than before.
Got it.
So yeah.
So now remember I said that it's only like 5 shifts, 5 myths that you need to bust, and the world becomes new for you. So what are these 5 myths? First is that competition is law is not for me because I have no prior experience. I've never studied it. Will I be interested in it, or will I be able to pick it up? So see, corporate lawyers need to understand competition law for M&A transactions. It matters, right? Even though a big law firm has a competition team, nowadays M&A lawyers in the M&A team are expected to know some competition law. Okay, because you can't be blindsided on competition law anymore at all. So high value, now let me explain it a bit further. So if you have a high value merger and acquisition transaction, investment transaction, okay, there is a certain level below which they are exempt from competition scrutiny. There may be some advisory work around it, but if that threshold is hit, then you need to structure these transactions in a way that prevents CCI scrutiny or approval. Otherwise, the transaction cannot go ahead. Like a case of Schneider, McTrichy, and L&T, what happened was, Shweta, that got derailed by 1 year because of this.
Yeah, because the matter was stuck before the CCI. The CCI was of the opinion that this transaction is too big for the market, and the CCI was hell bent on kind of not approving it. And there was a lot of back and forth between the parties, and they had to restructure the whole transaction and then bring in a lot more monitoring implications. So even though
Got it.
all other regulators had approved, but this matter was delayed by 1 year before just because of CCI regulations.
So if you're a contracts lawyer or an M&A lawyer, this kind of thing helps because you will be able to imagine what will be competition safe if you know competition law.
Yeah, before signing the shareholders' share subscription agreements, these things should be taken care of
Right.
rather than facing the issue at the CCI level.
Got it. Then if you're an IP lawyer, okay, so why are we doing this? We've sort of, found some connected or relatable areas which you can use to sort of just dive into the subject. So it's not that, this area I won't say is like competition law where you have to gain some understanding of history for 50, 60 years to be an expert because so many important issues have been litigated, so many conflicting judgments are there. It's not like that, right? So I'm trying to find out, we've tried to find out some nearby areas from which lawyers can branch off into this area. And even if you're not in one of those categories, you can still branch off. Okay. So if you're an IP lawyer, for example, there are issues of overlapping jurisdiction between.
It's essential that you learn about competition.
Yeah.
There's a constant conflict between IP and competition for sure. It has
In
only
all the big ticket deals.
I'm sorry?
In all the big ticket deals.
Yeah, all of them, especially those who are working with patents. There's a constant conflict, even trademarks. So and that's because like both of them serve what people perceive as different purposes. IP is more about having a monopoly on certain things, and competition is kind of attacking that. So it's
Right.
extremely important to understand the carve-outs, like for an IP lawyer, that what all does the CCI allow, and what all does the CCI not allow with respect to IP-related agreements.
Got it. So this is by no means saying that only these people are eligible. Okay, so for example, if you're a tax lawyer, you love numbers, you love reports, or you're a transfer pricing lawyer, you've been seeing economic reports. Competition is a great place to explore a very similar skill set. If you're a litigator, okay, if you've done writs, you will enjoy the administrative aspects of challenging CCI or NCLAT orders. You may not always have been able to do both alone because there is a certain understanding of competition you need to have to be able to challenge that. But the rules of competition law plus administrative law together combine to enable you to sort of challenge matters at the high court level. Now, that is an interesting opportunity to explore. In fact, any litigator can learn and offer a handful of competition law services like filing an information or representing the client before CCI or High Court. Okay, this can lead the client to quickly trust you and give other work. Say if you're doing arbitration matters or NCLT matters, okay, or if you're applying for a law firm, or you want to work as an in-house counsel. Say a litigator wants to shift to an in-house counsel position, have a stable job. So these kind of transitions become possible. Now, this is basically just like any other set of law, but any law is just a unique set of rules, right? So if you do DRT work or NI Act work or IBC work, you have to learn some new skills. And these skills are related to the rules of that game. So this is just like that. It's a new separate framework, doesn't require 20 years or 5 years of separate training. It requires a short period of training so that you can get started on it. And after that, of course, mastery has no end. You can specialize to any degree you want. The important thing is, are you good enough to start adding value to clients, start earning? Okay. So that we are saying is doesn't require more than 3 months of systematic study. Okay. The second part, the second myth, okay, is to focus on unique high value practice areas to succeed. What happens for us is that we sometimes tend to, as lawyers, we tend to add in anything and everything that the client wants. Let's do it. Okay. Now, sometimes the view of what's profitable, what's worthwhile goes away. So now the thing is that competition law expertise is one such area which allows you to demonstrate value to clients easily, which means if you have a pressure from clients, charge less, you can fend that off because this is unique, niche, and everybody doesn't do it. Okay, also very valuable. Now, when do you have problem charging a client? Okay, when it is difficult, and most of this happens often, clients find it difficult to correlate your service to the value. Okay, of course, and even BCI regulations don't allow you to charge a fraction of the amount recovered, right? So now imagine you're charging 30,000 for a civil suit.
Yeah.
A client is going to find it damn hard to appreciate that, because that, when will the civil suit end? You
Yeah.
might be able to charge that much for an interim injunction hearing, but for a civil suit it's very difficult to charge. But if it's a bail matter, you can charge very high amounts. If it's a tax advisory service or a tax litigation, you can again charge very high amounts, because in one case you're saving somebody from arrest, in another case you're actually saving a lot of financial money, right? Competition law is similar. Why? Because there is 10%
Yeah. Like
fine. Okay,
up.
10% of up to 10% of turnover fine is there, or penalty. And apart from promoters, even staff can contribute. They can be responsible and they can contribute to a competition violation. So across the whole organization, you need to be implementing your strategy. It's not that this is a top level strategy, it has to be top to bottom, which means that the degree to which a lawyer's intervention is needed is very, very in depth.
Yeah.
Okay,
The
plus,
training of the
yeah.
company that way, like every entity working for the company needs to be trained. It's not limited to senior management.
And in this area, training is a very important part.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, just like
Companies
we,
are specifically trained. The compliance programs are made just to train them in competition aspects.
yeah. Now, you have to see which are the when we talk about trainings, you have to see which are the high value trainings you can offer. Like there are some are simpler trainings. Like a post training or an HR training might be a little simpler if it's for all the employees, but there may be more complex trainings. Like competition, for example, is a very complex training. There can be multiple. There can be a series of trainings for clients that can be conducted. Okay, so and plus the other thing is that if you help a client, then you will literally be giving their business a chance to survive.
Yeah.
Okay, when there is a real competition problem. Okay, and we already discussed what kind of payments clients can make for services related to filing of information. The second myth that was there until now and was true to some extent, but now is completely going to turn upside down, is that competition work is pan India now, is going to be, and it's not restricted to Delhi based lawyers, or those select Mumbai lawyers who've got to spend 20 days in Delhi. It's not limited to them anymore. So we have some examples, like the All India Vendors Association case against Amazon and Flipkart, where Hyderabad based lawyer Chanakya Basa had filed a case. Okay, now, after lockdown, High Court, Supreme Court, tribunals, NCLT, and CLAT, and now Securities Appellate Tribunal have moved filing and certain kinds of hearings online. NCLT and CLAT hearings have started to become pretty long, and they're online.
Also,
And
most of the tech companies are now based out of Bangalore. So now
Mhm.
lawyers from Bangalore can actually leverage this particular opportunity.
Right. Now, clients and forums are now accustomed to virtual hearings. What does this mean? They will want to save costs. They don't want to fly you down.
Yeah.
So being based in Delhi or even traveling will not be necessary. It's a matter of time before the CCI moves completely online. That seems to be the case. Okay.
The cost of engaging a local counsel reduces.
Sorry, Shweta, can you repeat the point?
Yeah, like the cost of engaging a local counsel reduces.
Right.
Having to
Right.
fly to Delhi, then engage someone who's practicing in Delhi.
Yeah. So the layers get eliminated. Huh?
Yeah.
Got it. Now, how can you capitalize on this trend? Okay. So, of course, one simple way is to learn the skills, practice under the guidance of a mentor and try it out. But what is it that you can specifically do? So here there are about 6 services. We call these gateway services. You can
Yeah.
use these as entry points, or you can use these as paid services, however it works for you. But if you learn it, this can get you inroads to new clients. What are these services? Competition compliance training for mid-tier firms and trade associations. Dawn raid trainings. Dawn raid is basically a surprise inspection by the CCI. The first one was at JCB's premises. Okay, and companies are really worried about this. What, Shweta?
Now there have been 8 to 9. Like in the last year itself, there were 5 back-to-back raids.
Wow.
Yeah.
Abhi tak virtual raid has happened
No, not virtual raid. They directly go and attack the
in lockdown. Okay,
premises.
got it. Then writs at High Court challenging CCI actions, which is a mix of competition law plus admin law plus writ procedures. Drafting an information to CCI complaining of a competition malpractice. You notice here how we are not talking of the sections of the Competition Act and talking of a service. Okay, because that's the difference. You're not reading case law, you're not using sections, you're actually rendering an implementable service for a consumer, which is your client. Okay, contract review for competition safety. So how to draft, how to maintain competition hygiene in your contract clauses, and this ranges from shareholders agreements to any marketing, distribution, any kinds of agreement. You will need a competition scrutiny. You need to ensure that they are competition safe. Now competition has
Releases that companies make on their social media or other kinds of media, even they have to be scrutinized.
Right. So competition law goes really deep into your actual communication, corporate PR, internal documents, all of this strategy. Okay. And this is one unique system of law that goes there. Why? Because look at this. Okay. So your document management work involves review of emails, press releases, prospectus, business strategy, PPTs, any of that. So imagine, lines like "I'll kill the competition." That can be very dangerous. If a Facebook founder says that I'll kill the competition, and there's a case around an abuse of dominant position, those lines can turn out to be dangerous and backfire. Okay. And what does the commission do to do this? Like, they will have those discovery proceedings where they actually scrutinize your whole mailbox. And in the DLF case, the statement of DLF in its prospectus by the promoters that DLF is a market leader, which was done to basically, of course, give true information and to raise capital by the promoters. But that was relied on by the CCI to say that the DLF holds a dominant position.
Yeah, DLF itself was claiming that we are bringing a one-of-a-kind service
Yeah.
and kind of monopolizing its position.
Yeah.
So these statements have to be properly reviewed.
Yeah. The other challenge, is that I cannot compete with big law firms. Now, the deal here is that you don't need to compete with them. You are needed on the other side. Okay, on the other side may mean either on the other side of the transaction or for a different perspective. Okay, there may be one view, two views, or three different ways to do something. Okay, and they need, clients need somebody to represent the position they are standing for, and that's where you are very, very important.
Yeah, like Abir sir is again the best example for this. He usually uses very famous statement. He's like that if big firms are not coming, I'll go after them.
Okay,
And that's what he
how does that work? Like, can you explain a little?
in all the celebrated cases.
So if they're not coming, you'll represent an informant
Yeah, Nexus
and
represents
get them
on the
involved.
informant side against Uber, Ola.
Got it. So let's see this a little more. So we discussed this point of conflict, right? Everybody, that how big firms are conflicted. It can be conflicted in taking up certain client matters. That's your entry point. Some
Yeah.
clients further need competition assistance but cannot afford a big law firm. And obviously, they struggle to find lawyers who can help them with this, because people, right? If you've not done this before, you'll be like, how can I do it? I might have studied Competition Act 10 times, but I might have done a moot, but how do I file the information? How do I draft it? How do I identify the relevant market in India? What economic studies do I rely on? How all that becomes a big challenge. Okay? So clients need assistance to identify sometimes even that they need or they can file a competition information, okay, against a bigger participant who's been doing this. You'll be surprised to check with your clients when you find out that, okay, check with any vendor to a big company. You'll be surprised to find out information that, acha, what this big company is asking us for these terms only. This company has told us not to do this, not to do that. Okay, and if you look at it from a competition lens, we usually say jo bada company hai, that dictates the market. But apply competition law over that, and there is legal work coming out of it.
The story is completely different once you
Yeah.
have invested from the competition.
Yeah, and like Abir sir has shared some insights about how he's got matters where big firms were conflicted. So the matters came to them because the clients, he had that kind of relationship and credibility with clients. So we can all build that, right? Now focus on learning the skill versus the method of learning. This is very important. So like being stuck to, okay, I want to do for an LLM first, and I want to have 3 years of law firm experience. All that we can say, right? But the important thing is recruiters and clients want to know what you can do. They have no concern with your past. As long, obviously, you should not be a fake lawyer. You should have your LLB degree, but they have a concern with the fact that can you do the work for them? Okay. So look at this. If there are any of these questions you have, this might be relevant. I need real experience and mentorship to move to senior positions. How can someone teach me practical skills online? Aren't they supposed to be learned on the job, in court with a law firm or a senior? Or, I will get internships, perform moots, and write articles and become a competition law expert. A lot of students think that, and I will learn through an LLM. Okay. Abir sir, you want to say something about the hiring requirements and the connection with LLM? You can speak or you can type on chat as the, however it works. I think your audio, you were saying, is a problem.
There's some problem with his audio.
No worries. So he'll type on chat. Okay, guys. Just I think I missed one slide. So those of you who are staying till the end, we will be sharing a free PPT with you, which you can use as a competition compliance training material. It's been shared by one of our experts. Okay, especially for your benefit, and she's taken a session in the course as well. So let's quickly take a reality check. Okay, if you are thinking that I will learn competition law this way or that way, so how long does it take to learn on the job? How do you get the job in the first place if you're not going in trained? And competition law is one of those areas where law firms check your prior experience even before accepting you for an internship. Okay, so you really have a senior who's willing to teach you and pay you for learning from that senior.
And now it's
Okay.
become even more tight. Like now it's not like CPC or M&A, which is taught in colleges.
Yeah.
Competition is not taught in colleges that well, which is why recruiters are actually looking for specific skill sets now. That
Right.
do they have these skill sets? Like moods used to be there during my time when I was trying to enter the industry. But now the competition has become even more difficult. So now moods and articles are not nearly enough.
Right. So, you have to think, do you have this opportunity readily waiting, or is this just something you're saying to postpone decision making for your life? Okay. The cost is this, that our want may not be fulfilled. We may lose time and we may lose exciting opportunities. Right? What if you could have got 5 clients in the next 6 months? Where would that have left you, right? You may have, even as a law student, helped someone for free. But imagine the good it will do for you in a law firm interview. How many articles on competition law do you actually write every semester? You might say that, I'm going to write it, but you write what, 5 articles every semester? Do you do that actually, or in a year? So the question is, have you considered the possibility that even others who are serious, there'll be at least some other people who are serious as you, to work on competition law, right? So they'd also have written a couple of articles, done a single moot, right? But is that all that you can do? Can you do something more detailed, in depth, to actually perform the work? I'll give you some examples, okay, of the work that one really needs to do. So yeah, so now internship applications require prior experience, and after COVID, the problem is that firms could even think that, okay, you will learn a little under in our office from the environment, from the associates, but that opportunity is gone now. It's evaporated, right? Because everybody is working remotely. So you're logged into the system, you're working, but you're not like connected unless there's a call. So it's that much harder to train somebody, which means and because of the cost pressure, I have to be that much more careful before I hire. It doesn't mean that the market has gone bad or I don't have opportunities. Sure, market may have reduced by 5%, 10%, 20%. But if you're good, does it mean that they will not hire you? Because there is a demand still. Okay, so the only thing is, what do you need to do? Sorry, Shweta?
So that's what. So now firms, it's not like they'll lower the salary brackets, but earlier if they were hiring like 8 to 9 people, now it will reduce to 5 to 6. So you
Yeah,
have to be in that percentage. You have to be in that top 20-30% to be
yeah.
that good to get hired.
So after COVID, now all you've got to do is have more evidence to back up your claims. And I'm not saying a line in your CV saying, this course I've done, so I know it. No, it has to be direct evidence. Indirect evidence will not work. And if you're thinking of pursuing an LLM, one of the challenges you will face is LLMs are expensive still, and it will take you a year to get there. And these may be done virtually this year. This is happening for a lot of universities. So if you're missing out on the experience, a lot of people are reconsidering their decision for 1 year to do this, right? But the thing is, in the Indian market, the work is still happening. So do you want to learn that work still in the meanwhile? Okay. The question is that. And Indian jurisprudence is now unique. So international jurisprudence is one thing, knowing Indian law and helping Indian clients is another. Right. So what you want to consider seriously is that there could these processes, about learning through internships will still be there, but if you use them as a place to increase your learning and you acquire the learning from elsewhere to the extent it's systematically possible, you may be able to go forward faster. Otherwise, you will be slower. We will be stuck with slower and uncertain processes. Okay, the choice you have is that do you want to take responsibility for your growth? What if you can learn the actual work performed by competition lawyers at CCI, NCLAT, or at the law firms? Okay, so I'm going to give you an example here about how this works. So, where I will show you a sample exercise that, Shweta, can you put the link here and then show now? Let me give you
Yeah,
sharing rights.
one
So
second.
I want Shweta, she conducts the sessions also in the course and invites guest experts from time to time. So I'm going to give her sharing rights to show you actually that, what kind of work is required. Why are we doing this? Because it's sometimes difficult to understand that what's so different and what is the work we need to do. How will something online really help us? So let's just see quickly.
Yeah, so one of the most basic things that you guys will do once you start doing competition work is drafting an information. That's how CCI litigation starts. But the main problem in college or internships or anything or moots for that matter is nobody will focus on this particular skill set. And you will have to kind of learn it by hit and trial method once you join work. So what we do is basically that we give you this whole mock simulation exercise of actually drafting an information. We give you the facts, the allegation, the evidence that is in place, the relief that you're asking for, and then we ask you to actually draft an information and like tell you how to structure it properly.
So, and what is an inspection application?
So an inspection application is again one of those applications that lawyers and parties file before the CCI if they want to inspect certain documents. Let's say an information has been filed. Now the opposite party wants to know what are the contents that have been filed. And in order to know
Can you
that,
repeat this part? Sorry.
yeah, so let's say party A has filed an information against party B, and while they have filed an information, the like party B as a client wants to understand what all documents have been filed. Party B has got to know that there has been some sort of a filing against them before it has actually reached them. So they file an inspection application in the CCI in order to inspect the files. Now, how do you file that inspection application? So these are things that colleges and like internships don't really focus on that much. So we
Okay.
ask students to actually draft the information. So they've actually come out drafting beautiful drafts, things that we only got the experience of after, let's say, 1 or 2 years of working for law firms.
So this looks quite different from a moot memo.
Yeah, no.
This
So moot
looks
memo
quite
is all,
different from a moot memo, right?
yeah, moot memo is always based on substantive issues. Like they will give you, okay, this has happened. What will
Yeah,
be your
you'd be in like a 136 or a statutory
yeah,
appeal or a
like
writ.
you just have to write an argument, but
Yeah,
this is a filing,
yeah,
which
yeah.
includes the ancillary documents that you will have to file along with the information.
What are these red marks, Shweta?
So Abir sir actually reviewed the draft
Okay,
and he was giving his comments on how this particular information should have been drafted.
okay. So
That we
this is
need
like a
to
model solution which the other students also got, and this is the actual submission of a student.
this is like a feedback that you get.
Shweta, are you there from two machines? Somewhere there's echo happening. Please check now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, please proceed.
Yeah. So based on what was drafted by the student,
Yeah,
we actually evaluate every draft and like give a feedback as to how the
got it.
draft should have been rather presented. So Abir sir himself evaluated this draft. That
So
the
is this some hotshot, corporate lawyer who's drafted it, or is it a law student who
no,
is it?
it's a second year law student who drafted it.
Wow, damn good. Okay,
So yeah, like these are things I did after 2 years of my graduation,
okay.
which I intend on teaching to the students.
Got it. And a lot of times you've been inviting senior practitioners
Yeah, in
to
fact, Sir
write a
himself
brief.
reviewed and he's actually writing the comments. He's like, he was good at
Yeah,
writing research, was aware of the latest trends.
yeah,
And if this student presents this before a recruiter, saying that I not only know the law, but I also know how to draft an information, then they're just cherry picked. That okay, that my training time then reduces. I don't have to spend so much time training you how to draft an information because you
makes sense.
already know what goes in it.
Am I audible now?
Yes, yes, you are.
I think there was some problem with my system.
No problem.
I think just to add what Shweta is saying also, and this is a practical thing as a recruiter.
Sorry, sorry, I muted you by mistake.
Abir, I think we've lost. So we've
Can you
lost.
unmute yourself, Abhi?
Yes, can
Yeah,
you hear me?
yeah.
At times, which is a practice among law firm partners, etc., which may not should not be the case, but it happens is like Shweta was mentioning, we at times do not have time for training, which we
Mhm.
should have. And so that's why at times when you come as a first year graduate, the gulf between what you have taught in college, and even I had to face through the same thing, same struggle, everybody goes through the same struggle.
Mhm.
The gulf is at times, it can be slightly very high, so for the first 2 3 months you actually doubt your own self. So the idea is, if you are more abreast of legal happenings, the way it is done, that's why internships are very very important, and proper training. That's what I'm looking at in a student, rather than obviously an LLM, which you asked me a question earlier. So this is what I personally look at as to how good is he from day one, and that's where the training comes in.
Absolutely, like how much you can build upon it. What we had to do actually was we used to work during the day and study during the night in order to catch up on the training. Which I thought that okay, if this training could have been actually given way before,
In
like
college or something.
yeah, like in college or something, then
Yeah.
this time period would be saved,
But
and
now this,
I would not
yeah,
be learning by hit and trial. I would be good from day one.
got it.
And
And is this work something that you can do for independent clients also? This kind of work,
absolutely.
inspection and information, so you can do for independent clients, no?
Absolutely, absolutely. Information is absolutely like you can, as Sir said earlier, that you represent small clients and you file information. You're always mostly on the informant side when
Mhm.
you start out your practice as a competition lawyer.
Right.
So and what happens is this is very crucial because I think Sir will agree 70 to 80% of the information gets dismissed because of wrong interpretation of the act or not understanding how an information was supposed to be filed,
Wow.
whether they were even supposed to file it or not, whether it was maintainable or not.
Okay.
So if
That's
that
interesting.
knowledge and training is given prior, then you don't risk a dismissal of a matter and the
Okay.
wastage of the fees.
Got it. Thanks. That's great. Okay. So let's now. So how do you actually go about learning this? So basically, you will have like weekly live classes with feedback.
Yeah, so what I do is I actually divide the course between enforcement and merger control because these are the two main aspects of competition law training that goes in. And then week by week, we not only cover basics but also more than that add into the work that lawyers will have to do. Because understanding the law is something every lawyer or law student can do on their own as well. They do it through moods, they do it through writing papers. But how does CCI interpret it? This is where Sir comes in. He comes in with his actual experience where he can tell people that okay, this is exactly how CCI interprets it. This is not, it's not just how you, it's not a bare act reading that you have to go with. So, and the work that you have to do. How do you actually give your drafts? How do you reply to a DG's notice? How do
Right.
you do your final arguments? How do you, and then after that, what happens during a final hearing? How do you draft your appeal?
But you don't think a young law student also will face a problem learning this, no? We've got, like you showed that second year students draft, that was phenomenal.
Yeah,
And without the red line, and with red line also, like you can just use that
yeah. I mean
for
that
learning.
I remember in class I was saying that if, like this is the first draft that even I would come up with, and then
Yeah.
you make it better. So
So
that was
you make it in at the end of fifth year, or if you're working for an independent client, high risk of rejection for the matter, if you actually go ahead and file that, versus you practice on multiple scenarios and have a walkthrough of all the different kinds of work. How do you learn it? There's weekly live classes where you've been given exercises. You get templates to practice and apply the fact situation, structure your argument, and put it in the template. You also get feedback in these classes on the work you did the previous week in the group, and you get personal inline evaluator feedback. There are trained evaluators who evaluate your submissions. In this case, Abir sir had evaluated one submission, one model submission, based on which the evaluator would have evaluated the other students' submissions. Course anchor and mentor, we've explained that Shweta and senior mentors such as Abir uh, would be available from time to time to guide you if you have questions around how to build your career, or there's a complex competition law question which we can't internally handle. That will always, you will have their inputs. And Shweta has been from time to time calling seniors such as Rahul Rai, who taught leniency application. It's a very specialized form of work, and he was a competition partner at AZB, currently is an of counsel there and is working with the chambers of Gopal Subramaniam. Avinash Amarnath, who's again ex Amarchand, now independent practitioner, advocate on record at the Supreme Court. Okay, and you will be receiving coaching on writing and publishing three articles in 3 months on competition law. Okay, so it's an immediate slingshot effect. From having 0 articles or 1 or 2 articles, you get +3, and specifically on competition law. What you need to do is set aside 3 months, have week on week learning with feedback. It's like a gym. Go regularly for 3 months, it works. How much time do you need to keep aside? 1 hour per day, average at your own time, except for the days of classes which are fixed and pre scheduled. And if you miss the class, you can see a recording. In addition, there is placement and internship assistance plus client building guidance and a referrals group. What does this mean? So those of you who want to have to apply for jobs and internships, our placement cell will guide you on how to improve your CV. If you want to learn how to get clients, then you can talk to me or Abir sir and work on that. I've been personally coaching students on how to get client work and how to go about building clients. Ramanuj is there to do the same. So that is available, and there is also a 1 month refund policy. So how does it work? If you, there are terms and conditions applicable there. If you enroll in the course, attend all the live sessions live, and perform all the exercises in the first month, perform all the exercises on time and submit them in the first month, and then you find no value, then you can claim a full refund. Okay, so this is the terms and conditions in summarized form. You should see the full terms and conditions on the website for the refund policy so that you are clear. I am telling you very clearly, right? If you enroll, the condition is you got to study it by participating in the live classes and the exercise. Without that, the condition is not satisfied and the policy is not applicable. So this is what we ensure to see, that you are actually trying it out, and then if you don't benefit, then you can claim a refund request. Now here are some examples of what else you learn. I showed you one exercise, but you'll be like, hey, this guy just cooked up some exercise and is showing me a draft. So I'm going to show you some examples. Evaluation of relevant market and possible AEC effect. This is called an appreciable adverse effect on competition in a possible horizontal agreement violation. And there are 20 others. I can read each of these. Or Shweta, you want to summarize it? You can see actually we can read each of them.
Basically work that you have to do under enforcement and under merger control.
So both under, if you're doing in the litigation practice or in the corporate practice of a law firm, all of that, this is the kinds of work you do. So if you've done a competition law moot or you've done an internship, please, I try to identify whether you actually did this kind of work and how much of that did you do, and do you want to learn the other parts that you didn't do. Okay, so there's these 9 entries and about 9-10 more here. Application of parties test, reviewing an IP agreement, answering queries on competition composite transactions which are raised by CCI. Okay, so all the important kinds of work which you're likely to face. And in fact, if you're talking to a client also, you will be able to ask them the right kind of questions so that you identify whether this work is available. So plus the gateway services that we talked about. Remember that dawn raid training, email review, we are adding that in it. Competition compliance training and checklist. One checklist we will give you. That's a PPT you can use. Okay, but you can make it even far more directly implementable also. Okay, you can drive it down into more simpler details and create versions of it. Okay, so now imagine learning the whole spectrum of work that you would perform as a competition lawyer. which would be merger related, enforcement related. You can do this independently. You can do this in a law firm. You can apply to law firms. You can do this as an in-house counsel. You can review the law firm that you brief their work. You can work with the global team effectively as an in-house counsel, all of that. Imagine getting internship, interview preparation guidance for, or your job application guidance, or guidance on building clients through our placement committee, and being ready to work in boutique firms or full service law firms, or moving to general counsel positions, okay, or building your independent client. So that's really what's available. And who's done this? So we're giving you some examples of what students who've pursued the courses have said about it. Shweta, you can explain about some of our
We had
students.
like a lot of enterprising people joining, and so this was actually we had Kaushal Sharma who joined us. He is a senior manager at Genpact, so I was pleasantly surprised that someone who's not a lawyer was actually very interested and quite sharp with respect to his questions and his coursework. And he has completed his LLB degree. And why he wanted to specifically join the course is because his company is regularly involved with tenders, and he
Hmm.
wanted to understand how bid rigging is perceived from the CCI. But more than that, he said that I also got to know that okay, how the agreements that my company enters into, how the CCI would perceive them. How should you actually draft agreements so that you meet the objectives of your company, but at the same time maintain the competition spirit? So that was something that he was actually very happy with. Then we had a couple of enterprising law students. Abhyuday, if you can like move
Yeah.
to. Yeah, so this was Mayuri, who was a third year student in NLU Jodhpur, SIRS Junior, and she is also like she took this course and has applied for internships in competition teams right now. And after this course, she actually wrote two papers which are right now in process. She's writing a paper on the PDP bill and its impact on competition law, and the e-commerce and their effects on competition law. She actually followed Abhi sir's webinar that was there on this particular topic and said that it was actually quite helpful for her to make the report.
Wow. So
So,
it basically helped her to also write on PDP, huh? The writing
yeah,
guidance that you provided.
absolutely. And we had
Okay.
Saganil also. He's in his second year, so he was very surprised with the level of work that he was doing right just by being a second year student.
Yeah.
And he was not really expecting that he would end up drafting information and he would end up working on merger control, considering he's not even studied Companies Act.
And he
So
could manage competition and
yeah, and he
learn
could
it and
manage
do this.
competition, and he actually now he says that now Companies Act M&A makes much more sense now that he's
Wow.
studying it in his third, fourth year, like third year.
Okay. And Shweta, just do paste in the links for people for these students' videos so that they can see
Also, I think it's
independently.
given in a folder.
Acha,
Uh,
is there in the folder? Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
So and okay, so Asabri was a very interesting student. She did her graduation from Princeton in politics, and now she's pursuing her LLB from Delhi Faculty of Law DU. She was actually one of the sharpest students we had in our course. All her drafts were quite industry ready, as I may say. And she was like, now she's actually applying to internships in competition teams right now, and right now finalizing dates. So and I think after this, she also took part in a competition law moot.
I've had a few students who said I want to go for a moot, but before that I want to learn competition so that I can win the moot. Couple of people had said that, yeah. And here are some screenshots of people who have liked the classes. So this is a particularly interesting one because the student says that he thought that I've already done a few moots and written papers on competition law and was of the opinion that this would do nothing but solidify pre-existing knowledge.
Yeah.
But says that he says that this turned out to be wrong, and it was what he knew was a tiny fraction of the real deal. And he learned a lot of practical aspects, and writing articles and drafting actually enhanced his ability.
Yeah,
And
he thought
yeah,
he didn't think that it would. He just thought that okay, whatever he knew will get solidified. He thought that he would
yeah,
come and he would be able to like contribute a lot more. But he ended up telling me that okay, there's like I just knew probably 20% of the law. I didn't know this is what actually you need to do as a competition lawyer.
right. So one question to Abir: if a second year student applies to you for internship and they have done all this, you don't have a problem Like, of course, firm policies and all are important, but you wouldn't disqualify them for being in the second year, right?
Absolutely not. In fact, I'll just we have some feedback from some students. I'll give you my own feedback
Mm-hmm.
where I've been taking lectures like you guys are mentioning for 3 4 classes, interactive session.
Yeah.
And on a case which like the Amazon case where I've been racking my brains for the last what 6 months now,
Mm-hmm.
and a student of ours came up with a question after 3 days of intensive learning
Mm.
and came up with a proposition which even got me thinking. And
Yeah.
I specifically told him that if you can come up with, you have given a proposition, do a research and come back with that, it will help my case and
Wow.
graduate, which means that I'm impressed with him.
Yeah.
And I'm told that he's still a law student. I don't know which year, I don't remember offhand which year, but he's just a law student. I won't say just, he's a law student.
Yeah.
And he
Oh,
has asked such a question, which, if he can come up with data, will really help my case immensely.
Yeah.
And I have
great.
no qualms in saying that I did not think of it.
Mm. Very interesting. Thank you. And Kaushal was a business person, huh?
Yeah. He works for Genpact.
Yeah. So the reason a lot of business people take it is because of the overlap of law and business here so much.
Especially because if they are part of sales teams and marketing teams, then it will only help them understand that okay, what are the things that we should do and what are the things we should steer clear of.
And he says that for what vertical agreements with vendors is
Yeah.
something that he benefited on. And wow, very interesting. I have not spoken to IT professionals about competition law when I do calls. Okay, so today we had promised you that you will be able to identify a niche for actually uh, actually working, specializing, getting ready for the best jobs, top tier firm jobs, or moving to general counsel positions, or adding highly profitable areas to your law practice, right? And we've just shown you a picture of how this can be achieved. This is like a trailer, and it's upon you to sort of dive deep in. The question to think about is how can you be indispensable, add high value services, and be available for the best jobs? And how can you demonstrate more ROI post COVID for your skills? What do you bring on the table? You need to be able to demonstrate that. Okay, and simply speaking, so what is it that you decide to do here? Now you have an important decision to make. How can you be indispensable? 1 second. So our 3 month executive certificate course in competition law is something you can explore to further develop this skill in the exact way that we mentioned. So, and think about this, okay? What are you going to do in the next 3 months to be indispensable? How will you proceed? CCI may not be doing other than merger notifications online right now, but in the next 3 months, if you want to prepare for adding new ammunition, right, to your skill sets, what are you going to do? How are you going to go about it? Okay, so that's a choice you got to make. And if you want to enroll or find out more about the course, you can visit the link. Shweta, if you could type it in chat, it'll be great. Okay, and if you give it a shot, you have an opportunity to learn practical skills without years of experience in 3 months. And what you need to look at is in your CV, you don't write just the name of the course. That's not the emphasis. The emphasis is the actual work that you have performed. You can send, like I showed you the submission of the student, you can
Yeah.
send those 20 assignments to a recruiter and say that I've actually worked on these things. That's hardcore evidence of what you did. And in your CV, when you say I did this, it's a lot better than researched on Section 3 and Section 4 of the Competition Act. Okay, so that's the difference that your CV will show, and it to a recruiter. This could be even like if you're applying for a senior position, also this will work. Okay, do you want to basically have that kind of experience in 3 months and write 3 articles? Okay, and the risk is not on you, right? If you try everything, if you just put in that 1 hour a day, attend the live classes online and perform the exercises, submit them on time, the risk then is on us, right? Because you can avail of the refund policy then. Okay, so to identify how to proceed further with this and address any personal queries, you can schedule a 30-minute strategy call with Shweta. She is the course anchor and will be in the best position to guide you on how you can build your career as a competition lawyer. Now, a couple of links. So I had said that I'll share a free competition compliance training PPT, which The link to that is given here on chat and on screen. And Shweta, if you can type it on chat, that'll be great. And a link to the sample exercises which we just showed you. You can use this link for your practice. Shweta, is there a folder link?
I will just check.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, so the link to the free materials is.
Got it.
So yeah, I'm just giving all the links.
All right. So with that, we complete the training session. I'm going to invite you all to share your feedback. What did you gain from it? And what do you see possible for yourself in the coming days? Quickly, if you all can share. Did you find this useful? Did you find opportunities for building your own practice or improving your CV for jobs and internships or moving to senior positions as in-house counsels? Okay, there is a question from Samriddhi. Samriddh. Merger filing is something which is usually time and research intensive. Does it pose as a hindrance to independent lawyers? Shweta, you'd like to take that, or Abhi?
Absolutely. So I'll just take that, and then
Okay.
Shweta can add. Absolutely not. So once we have got a merger filing mandate, obviously it depends on which form it is. It's not rocket science. It's just there's a lot of practical tips that has to be done. The form has to be filed properly, and then an approval can come if you properly give your justifications and coordinate with the CCS. I don't think it's an issue at all. I've done a couple of them in being an independent lawyer. Obviously, the difference is that if you are an independent lawyer, you may not get those high value deals which may require a merger notification. But I have been fortunate enough to get 3 or 4 of them, and it's not something which is rocket science.
Samriddha, does it answer your question? Okay, everybody, quick feedback before we complete and close out the session. Thank you very much for being there. So, yeah, I'll wait for 10 seconds for your feedback and any questions, and then we close this. Thank you, Abir, for being there. Thank you, Shweta, for being there and taking out time. Thank you, everybody, for being
Thank
in
you,
this session.
everyone.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. All right. So, guys, there's a batch starting on July. And if you all want to inquire further, you should go ahead. There is only 20 seats which are there in every batch. So you should go ahead and schedule a session or directly enroll so that you can make a decision. Okay. And with Shweta, you can figure out if this really is for you or not. So those of you who want a more personalized discussion for your career, then you can speak to her and identify whether this makes sense for you. Cheers, everybody. See you and bye. Yeah.